It's going back to the Eureka Centre and the Eureka Precinct. First of all, the reason why I'm sort of involved in all this is because I'm a descendant of the Eureka Stockade, and the leader of the Eureka Stockade from Ireland was Peter Lawler. Okay, so that our family hid or harboured Peter Lawler when he escaped from Ballarat because there's £400 on his head, because he was the leader of the stockade and the British weren't very happy with that, so that he then had to escape from Ballarat with a shot in the arm which had to be amputated. And his fiancée, who he married, she was a school teacher, and the Moore family children all went to that school, so there was a relationship between our family and the Lawlers. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why I'm interested in Eureka. And also his brother is my great-great-grandfather, and he was here on the gold fields here. Okay. Now, I'm also past president, honorary life member of the Celtic Club. So that's also how I got involved in this. The other thing I want to say is that this woman beside me, who's only 30 years of age, so a little bit older, but that she is now, it was like me having my Eureka moment, because my great find or introduction to this woman here, Stephanie, is going to give us a rejuvenation in Irish knowledge, history, genealogy and everything else, because 25 years ago I was involved with the Celtic Club, and what I did was went out to establish or reinvigorate some of the Irish associations in Victoria, which is Ballarat, Bendigo and Geelong. But we also started a new one in the southwest of Victoria. And what happens is, in setting those Irish associations up, what I did was then I started the tours to those places. And as you can see, I'm old and withered. So, too young, yeah. But at any rate, so
$400 is still on your head.
Yeah. So what's happened is they are getting tired, but they're down at Crosley. They are from grandparents to little children. Very big organisation down there. So that now we've got Stephanie. There's a great chance of reinvigorating the whole program, and we've already been to Crosley, Ballarat now and Bendigo in the last few days.
Literally in the last few days.
In the last few days. And then I went up to Shepparton for another reason.
Looking ahead.
But we are so happy that we can have a spell and the new blood come on. It's really wonderful. So she's going to be very instrumental in helping our Irish Association, not only with the tours, but in having meetings and meeting the community. Anyway, that's...
Amen. I love it.
I know she loves it. I see how she works. But in terms of that, what I've given you, and I don't need to go into it really, but I'll just say I said with the Eureka Precinct that there is recognition worldwide for the Eureka Precinct. And two of the big worldwide under UNESCO is the Ballarat Reform League Charter, and I will emphasise, which wasn't that emphasised at the Eureka Centre, the Ballarat Reform League Charter is the reason why we have democracy in this country, and one of the best democracy, or the best democracy in the world. And it's taken over 2,000 years to get the type of democracy we have today. None of them have ever achieved it. Not England, they've still got the House of Lords, and certainly not with Trump in America. But in terms,
the Irish relevance in all of that is a lot of them were Irish.
Well, that's right. So at the Eureka Stockade there was something like 30,000 people, diggers here in Ballarat, in the 10 years 1850 to 1860, in those 10 years. And when you talk about the Ballarat Reform League Charter, and that in terms of the heavy licence fee, where they were licensed whether they found gold or not, eventually they got that broken through, and when you find gold then they would tax you, but that was after the rebate, okay? So that I think that's extremely important in terms of Ballarat forward. The other thing is that what's happened at the moment, Australia have put in an application for the central goldfields of Victoria, which is Bendigo, Castlemaine and Ballarat, and other goldfields, but they're the prominent ones that have also been recognised on the World Heritage List, the central goldfields, not just because it's unique. In terms of other goldfields in the world, most of it has been bulldozed. So there's nothing there to see. Whereas in Australia, in central of the goldfields of Victoria, it's all there, it's still there. All the equipment, all the mines, the whole story, and then buildings like this. In those towns, they've got modern buildings, as you see, in Lydiard Street in Ballarat, beautiful architecture, and in Bendigo and so on, because they were built on all that gold they did. Just reminds you that Melbourne, which became at one stage in the gold rush, was one of the most biggest cities in the world, because they were receiving all the gold down in Melbourne, and therefore Ballarat, Bendigo and Melbourne were expanding in a rapid way, and we still have its riches today. One of the other extensions of the goldfields here in Ballarat was it created a civic-minded people, and a lot of them didn't leave, particularly with deep-sea lead mining, as against alluvial mining. So they were great civic people, and they built these cities up to what they are with their beauty. Okay? So that's... And also in terms of the Eureka Centre and the Eureka Precinct, I also organised with the ambassadors, the Irish ambassadors to Australia 25 years ago, and every ambassador, when they come, they want to come here to Ballarat, right, to understand the connection between the Ballarat Eureka Stockade in 1854 and the 1960. It took them to 1916 to have their revolution in Ireland to get their independence up to a point. They still don't own all of Ireland, okay? But they're very conscious of all that in Ireland. So those ambassadors want to come here all the time to celebrate it in their own way. And then a lot of them had a lot to do with those things, the pathway and some of those aspects in the Eureka Precinct. Okay? The Irish ambassadors were involved in that, by the way, with some of us, okay, to get those things to happen. So that in terms of the thing that what I've given you is that's a bit of a summary of the Eureka Precinct. Then you have this Eureka Circle, which is is in the Eureka Precinct. And with those cutouts there, which you've got, you can see it's telling the story through the cutouts, which I think you would call it topiary. Is that a topiary? People cut into steel at any rate. Now the pathway of remembrance, I had a bit to do with that by approaching all the embassies where those people, their people from their country were killed at the Eureka Stockade. So that's giving you a story of that precinct, and behind that is the list.
I'm trying to get the thing showing.
Oh, goodness me. That's a list of those people who had died at the Eureka Stockade battle. Okay? And then also the last thing to do is the Eureka Stockade demands. Okay? Right, and then I'll finish up. You can have all that. Please, thank you. And this here is purely that when you come back to Ballarat, you not only can go to the Sovereign Hill and also the Eureka Stockade, but I've done a big tour on Ballarat where all the characters and the events and stories are there. But the Diggers March, when they march from Bakery Hill to the Eureka Stockade for the battle, that in terms of that, these are the three different trails. You can follow your Diggers Trail or the Soldiers Trail before the attack. And it was a great pleasure. Another chap and I developed that trail, and then we then gave the basic information of the trail to Professor Maloney, who then wrote the book. The best book on Eureka is the book he wrote called Eureka. Okay? So we're knocked out. We've got other competitors. Thanks for the opportunity to say so.
Thank you so much, Philip. Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
So the relationship is...